Mounty Antlers, I love your name. Hello, Rhonda Felicia. Hello, Hobie Love, little butterfly. Hey, who's that girl? Thank you, Lexi Cocoa Butter. Appreciated. Welcome to the Night Realm. I am the Night Queen, and you, my night dwellers, have come to hear a bedtime story, haven't you? Tonight is the continuation of the Crimson Queen. We have a way of how we enter into story time here, though, don't we? Let's begin. Lower your lights. Lock your doors. Light a candle for ambiance. Pull your curtains nice and tight. Wrap yourself in your warmest blanket to avoid the chills that are about to pull up your spine. And let's begin. How is the music? Please let me know. Hello, Tiffany. Fine. Sounds great. Perfect. Chapter 1. Shadows in the Queen's Wing. Blackstone Castle slept beneath the weight of midnight. No laughter drifted down the corridors. Only the sigh of the wind, coiling through stone arches like a ghost hunting the halls it once called home. The torches guttered low, their light burned down to embers. Calitza Drathmore slipped through the open window of her chamber, her cloak whispering against the marble. Her boots made no sound, her hair was heavy with mist. The raven, Nixroth, glided after her and perched on the tall mirror's frame, shaking droplets from his feathers and fixing her with a knowing red eye. She drew in a slow breath. Home. The word had never felt so good. She had wondered if she would escape the witch's wrath, and she had. The air was cold but familiar. The scent of lavender oil, damp silk, and candle smoke. She closed the balcony doors softly behind her and smiled faintly, thinking that she had arrived unnoticed. The guards were long in their cribs, and her ladies were in their quarters. She could still feel the faint burn of the witch's touch upon her belly, but she pressed it away with her hand, straightening her posture, composure returning. Her eyes flicked toward the long mirror again, her reflection, the raven above it, her cloak wet from the rain, her expression hard and victorious. For one perfect moment, she allowed herself to smile. Then, a voice came out of the dark. Where were you? Calypso froze. The sound was quiet, deliberate, each syllable clipped with centuries of control. From the corner of the room where the fire's glow did not reach, a figure stepped forward. Tall, ageless, eyes like mirrors of polished silver. Lady Seraphina! Calypso's words were steady, but her pulse shuddered beneath her skin. You startled me. Seraphina Blackstone, the eternal matriarch of Blackstone, moved with impossible grace. Her gown was black velvet, the edges glimmering like frost. The candlelight shivered along her pale throat. She regarded Calypso with cool stillness. You were gone, Seraphina said softly. Gone for hours. Your absence was noticed. So I will ask you once more, Lady Drathmore. Where were you? Calypso forced a smile, folding her hands at her waist. I took air. The castle was stifling and I needed to think, especially with my wedding tomorrow night. Think. Seraphina's voice was neither mocking nor kind. It was ancient, level, laced with something far sharper than suspicion. The hour was long past thinking, Lady Drathmore. And the air you sought smells not of Blackstone Castle at all. There is no roses or rain on you. Her gaze drifted to Calypso's cloak, the dampness that had dried into strange green shimmer, faint phosphorescent dust that clung to her fabric. Calypso followed her eyes and tensed. I went nowhere forbidden. Her voice was clipped. Did you? Seraphina took a step closer. Her movements so silent the sound of Calypso's own breathing felt deafening. Strange then. Strange what? Strange then that the owl Mina stirred in her roost. Strange that her feathers trembled when you left your balcony. and stranger still that she followed your flight as far as the cliffs of Draymere before you vanished. I will only ask you once more, where were you? Kalitza swallowed. You send birds to watch me now? I send them to protect my queen, Seraphina said. You forget your place, Drathmore. There are whispers in your wake. I don't trust you. You will not be the first. Nixroth croaked slowly from his perch, feathers puffing. The noise echoed through the chamber like a warning. Seraphina's eyes flicked toward the bird, unimpressed. So that is your companion now, she murmured. An uninvited guest. Do you bring Carrion into the Queen's walls now? She has that out. That is hers. And she is queen. You are nothing in my eyes, Drathmore. I can smell you. I know what you are. Kalitza's hand went protectively to the raven. He is mine. He is my familiar. And you have no authority over my chamber, Lady Seraphina. You may go. Did you just have the audacity to dismiss me? Kalitza Drathmore, I know what you are. You may fool everyone else in this kingdom, but you do not fool me. I can smell you. And you stink. Get out of my chamber. Seraphina's lips curved faintly. No warmth, no humor. You have no authority here, she whispered. Do you forget who built these walls? Child, every stone knows my name before it knew yours. Speak truth now, Kalitza, for once in your life, pathetic as it is. Where did you go? Kalitza stood still for a moment, her expression schooled into icy elegance. But Seraphina's presence was too much. The way her eyes glowed faintly with old fire, the weight of her centuries pressing down like a storm. Finally, Kalitza said, does it matter? You will tell the Queen regardless. You will twist my steps into treachery whether I walk to the garden or to the moon itself. Seraphina tilted her head. You walked where vampires do not tread willingly. I smell the old earth on you, the damp of the deep. You've been to the caves, haven't you? You sank so low that you went to Morwenth. No, of course not. For the first time, something flickered in Kalitza's eyes, something unguarded. Seraphina smiled without softness. Ah, I see it now. The caves. The witch that whispers from beneath the mountain. You made a bargain. Kalitza said nothing. The silence stretched thick as blood. The only sound was the crackle of the dying fire and the steady drip of water from Kalitza's cloak. Seraphina stepped closer until their faces were inches apart. You think you can keep secrets in this castle, don't you? Everything here speaks, Kalitza. The stories, the air, the shadows that drink our voices. And they all tell me you've done something you cannot do. And something that you cannot undo. Kalitza's lips parted, half denial, half fury, but Seraphina raised a hand. I don't need your confession, girl. I can see it in your eyes. The hunger there isn't for survival. It's for power, and it always has been. And power comes with a cost that you cannot yet imagine. She turned to leave, her gown sweeping across the marble like water. At the door she paused. Although I do not know why Ella seems to trust you. But let me assure you that I do not. Be careful what promises you make in the dark beneath the earth. The light of the throne has a cruel way of burning those who plot too close. Kalitza went to retort, and the door closed behind her with a quiet click, which only infuriated her more. For a long moment, Kalitza stood in silence, trembling, not with fear, but with absolute pure fury. Her hand went to her stomach again. The faint pulse of her unborn heir beat beneath her palm. Nixroth croaked softly and hopped out into the table, dipping his beak into the goblet of blood wine, staining it darker still. Kalitza stared at the door, her reflection in the mirror catching the faintest glint of her fangs. You may watch me, Seraphina, all you want, but you won't see me coming. She looked up at Nixroth, and the raven blinked once, slow and deliberate. Tomorrow, she said to her familiar. Tomorrow you begin. The bird croaked again, low, like laughter. Outside, the night wind rose over Blackstone, and far away in the deep of the mountains, beneath the caves, something ancient stirred. The door had barely latched when Kalitza's composure shattered completely. And after she told the bird that their work would begin the next day, her entire body trembled. First with disbelief, then with sheer molten fury. She stood rooted in place, her breath coming in ragged, uneven pulls as the last echo of Seraphina's voice dissipated into the cold air. How dare she? Kalitza hissed, her voice trembling with venom. How dare she speak to me that way? The fire in the hearth crackled softly, but she could hardly hear it over the blood that roared in her ears. Her hands clenched into fists so tight that her nails sliced into her palms. The rivulets of blood trickled between her fingers, bright and fragrant in the lamplight. Her reflection glared back at her from the mirror, eyes flashing with feral silver, lips drawn back in a snarl that looked nothing like the composed beauty the court knew. Her chest rose and fell as she tried to breathe through it, tried to steady the storm inside. You dare to threaten me in my own chamber, she whispered, voice breaking with a strain. You dare to accuse me? She spun suddenly, her cloak flaring like wings, and swept her arm across her vanity. Bottles of perfume and crystal decanters crashed to the floor in a cascade of violet glass and the heavy scent of rose oil. The air filled with the cloying sweetness of it, cloaking her, feeding her rage. Nixroth let out a sharp guttural croak from his perch by the hearth, his eyes burning red in the dim light. Kalitza ignored him. Her anger was too great, too raw. She stalked toward the window and threw the drapes back. The courtyard below was drowned in perpetual snowlight, the world outside still and deathly silent. It should have calmed her, but it reminded her of her prison, the endless night, the endless rules, the endless watching eyes. How dare she? Kalitza whispered again, pressing her hands to the cold glass. How dare she treat me like I'm a child? The glass fogged beneath her breath. Outside, the owl Mina glided silently across the courtyard, wings gleaming like liquid silver. Kalitza's gaze followed it with hatred, flickering like fire in her eyes. Then faintly, gently, she felt it. For the first time. A flutter. Low in her belly, but unmistakable. The life stirring within her. The promise of vengeance and power. She drew in a breath that trembled, the fury cooling into something far more dangerous. Resolve. She pressed her hand to her abdomen and felt the faint hum of warmth that pulsed beneath her skin. A life that was neither mortal nor purely vampire. Something greater. Her lips curved into a slow smile. Yes. Yes, my son, she whispered, voice low and reverent. You will change everything. You will silence them all. The feeling soothed her, steadied her. The trembling of her hands stilled. Her heart, still rapid from rage, began to slow, as though the child itself were calming her, reminding her of the greater purpose. But then, as her gaze fell back toward her hand and the ring on her ring finger, she thought of her marriage that was to be. Her jaw clenched. The scent of rose oil and blood mingled in the air, intoxicating and thick. The memory of that fat, intoxicating, sweating lord she was meant to wed clawed through her mind. The thought of his greedy hands on her body, his piggish smile, his whispered promises of wealth and protection. Her nostrils flared. They mean to chain me to that. She slammed her palm against the window so hard that the glass quivered in its frame. I am not meant to be a wife. I am not meant to serve. I am meant to rule. Nixroth called sharply, wings spreading wide. Kalitza turned, her eyes blazing like molten silver. They think they can force me to marry some bloated relic of a man, and I will bow my head as some obedient bride. She laughed, sharp, brittle, half hysterical. Let them try. She stalked across the room, pacing like a caged animal, her boots clicking against the marble. Let them try to break me. Let anyone try to break me. I have you now. I need no one else. Let Seraphina whisper her suspicions, Let Ella believe she has tamed her court. Let that witch in the cave believe that I surrendered. None of that will matter soon. None of that will matter when you are born. She stopped by the mirror and stared at herself again, chest heaving. I will not bow to no one. She whispered, not to Ella, not to Seraphina, not to Morwith, not to him, not to any of them. The raven croaked again, softer this time. A sound that almost resembled a purr. He hopped to her shoulder, pressing his beak against her neck. Kalitza smiled faintly, almost tenderly, and reached up to stroke his feathers. Soon, my pet, soon we'll watch them all crumble. Her reflection caught in the glass again. Her face flushed from fury. The faintest glow of green still clinging to her cloak. The faint movement of her hand over her belly. She looked like a queen herself. Dark. Terrible. Beautiful. And entirely unrepentant. Outside, the wind howled across Blackstone's towers, and far beneath the earth, something answered it. A pulse. Faint, but growing. The world was shifting, and Kalitza could feel it. The fire had dwindled to embers. The air inside Kalitza's chamber had gone thick, too still, too heavy. The scent of shattered perfume lingered around every corner, sweet and suffocating, clinging to the silks, to the hair, to the inside of her lungs. Kalitza stood before the mirror. The same mirror where moments ago she had watched her fury reflected back at her. But now, her reflection stared at her differently. Eyes too bright. Lips twitching upward at the corners, though she had not moved. Her heartbeat slowed. A hiss, faint as silk drawn over glass, cut through the silence. Then came the voice. Low, ancient, feminine. A sound that felt like it came from the stones beneath her feet. You forget, child. Your rage is a blade with no hilt. Kalitza's breath hitched. She took a half step back, every instinct on edge. The mirror shimmered faintly, rippling like water. You have not met the luxury of defiance. A terrible pain seized Kalitza's abdomen, and she screamed out. Morwith! Kalitza whispered. The name slipped out like a confession as she was overridden by pain. The glass darkened until it reflected no candlelight, no room, only shadow. Then out of that darkness, two green orbs blinked open, those same unholy eyes from the cave. Kalitza's stomach twisted again. Why do you hold me? You sought me, the witch's voice murmured, smooth and full of contempt. You bartered for power in my caves. Did you think our bargain ended when you crawled back to your castle? The green glow spread across the mirror, taking form. A face pale and dreadful and wretched. Serpents coiling where hair should have been. Eyes alive with sickly light. Her lips curved in a smile that was not human. Remember one thing, Kalitza. I hear everything. I hear it all. Another terrible cramping seized her abdomen, bringing her to the floor. Ah! You stand here trembling with anger, thinking yourself clever. You think your hunger for vengeance is enough to command my destiny. Kalitza pressed a hand to her chest, forcing calm. You said I would unseat her. You said I would rule, as you will. But you will do as I instruct. I've done everything you've asked. No, you have not. Not yet. The witch leaned closer, her face filling the mirror. Kalitza could smell her now, earth and rot, the sharp tang of old magic. You will marry the Lord they've chosen for you. Kalitza recoiled, her voice rising. Never! I will never. You will, Morin said simply, her tone like iron. You will smile when they command it. You will kneel before that bloated fool, and you will lie in his bed as if he were king himself tomorrow night. You will make him believe you are his treasure, because only then will your son, our son, be seen as legitimate. Kalitza's blood ran cold. Our son? She grabbed her wound protectively. Do not mistake your wound for power of your own, the witch hissed. You carry my design. He will rise beneath my shadow, not yours. If you fail to protect the illusion, if you defy the course I've set once more, your son's soul will rot before he ever draws breath. Kalitza's nails bit into her palms again. You said I would rule. You said he would take back the Blackstone throne. And he will. Morinth whispered, voice thick with amusement. But he must first believe to be where he belonged, and that is in Lord Veyron's house, as his son. The throne does not kneel to bastards, even bastards born of gods. The words hung in the air like frost. Kalitza trembled, not from fear, but from humiliation. You would have me chained to that man to play your game. My game. The witch's laughter crackled like silence, echoing from the glass like thunder. May I remind you who came to me, Lady Strathmore. You begged for vengeance. You asked me to make you greater than your queen. Do not pretend that this was not your wish. Kalitza's throat tightened. I will not be humiliated. You will be patient. Morwen's eyes blazed bright to green, light spilling across the floor, turning Kalitza's pale skin ghostly as another terrible, terrible spasm claimed her abdomen. If you defy me, your body will wither. Your child will never be born, and every ounce of power you think you've stolen will turn against you. Your veins will burn with it until you beg for the grave. Is that what you wish for, my beautiful traitor? Kalitza said nothing, her chest rising and falling rapidly, her reflection shimmering with fury and helplessness. The witch smiled, slow and cold. Don't worry. The boy is fine. Do as I commanded. Marry him. Bed him. Let them think you are tamed. As soon as this is over, slip the tonic into his wine, and I will give you what you ask for. The green light began to fade, pulling back into the glass. The reflection returned, but the eyes, those terrible eyes, remained a moment longer. And Calypso, her name slithered through the air like smoke. Do not mistake my silence for absence. I see you. I see everything. The glass went still. The light died. The mirror was once again only a mirror. Calypso stood trembling before it, her reflection wild-eyed and pale. Her heart hammered against her ribs. Behind her, Nixroth gave a low, rasping croak, as if echoing the witch's warning. She turned away slowly, staring into the hearth, still clutching her abdomen. The witch's words churned through her like poison. She was to marry. She was to play the pathetic game of the docile bride, while carrying the seed that would destroy them all. Her fury cooled to something far sharper. Very well, she said as she stared into the flames. I will play your game, Morwen. I will play it perfectly. Her gaze drifted to the mirror once more. Her eyes caught the last trace of green that lingered in the glass. And in her mind she thought, and when that time comes, she murmured in her thoughts, I will destroy you too. The mirror stayed silent, but in its depths, for the briefest of an instant, one serpent eye blinked. Chapter 2, The Queen's Chamber. Candles bathed the Queen's chamber in a soft amber glow. Seamstresses moved like shadows, silk and satin whispering in their hands as they adjusted the folds of a gown the color of a garnet. The air was thick with the scent of lavender oil, pressed roses, and the faint copper of blood wine. Ella stood on the dais, tall and regal, the weight of her crown's crimson jewels catching the light like drops of fire. Her reflection filled the three-panel mirror before her, endless, perfect, radiant, and yet even her perfection seemed shadowed tonight. Nira stood nearby, silent. The witch's usual playfulness, her teasing remarks and easy laughter were gone. She was pale, paler than usual. Her eyes shadowed with something unspoken. Her hands clasped before her trembled slightly when she thought Ella wasn't looking. So what do you think of this one? The sapphire or the garnet? What do you think, Nira? Yes, the white is lovely. You're quiet tonight, Nira, Ella murmured, her voice low and smooth, never lifting her gaze from the mirror. That isn't like you. Nira blinked as if pulled from a trance. My queen? I asked if you like the sapphire or the garnet, and you said white. Is there a gown here that I don't see? I'm sorry, Your Grace. I'm sorry, I've just been preoccupied. Ella's lips curved faintly. You barely said a word. Not about the gowns, not about the jewelry, not about Maylor, not even about the court gossip, and you thrive on that. A seamstress knelt to pin the hem. Nira forced a smile. I'm only tired, Your Majesty. The court has been lively of late. Ella turned her head slightly, enough that their eyes met in the mirror. Don't lie to me, Nira. Not you. The soft tone of her voice made the words more dangerous. The seamstresses froze in their work, hands mid-motion, afraid even to breathe too loudly. Nira's throat tightened. She opened her mouth and closed it again. Out, Ella said suddenly without raising her voice. The seamstresses gathered their things in haste in baskets and fled, the heavy doors clinking shut behind them. Now only two remained, the queen and the witch. The chamber seemed to exhale. Ella stepped down from the dais, the train of her gown flowing behind her like blood through snow. Mina landed on her shoulder. Shoo. You've been different, she said softly. Distracted. You've taken to staring at nothing these past few days, whispering to yourself. Maylor came to me. He's worried about you. You hardly eat, you hardly rest. Tell me what plagues you, Nira. Nira's pulse raced. She wanted to lie again, but Ella's eyes, the blue with the red rim, sharp, deep, merciless, held her still. She looked at her queen, her dearest friend, and the words tangled in her throat. It's nothing, she said finally. Only dreams. Ella paused, studying her. Dreams. Nira nodded, voice small. They're only dreams. Bad dreams? Nira's hands twisted together. Yes. About what? Nira hesitated. Her mouth opened and closed again. The words wouldn't come. Ella moved closer, her presence magnetic and commanding. You forget, my dear, she murmured. I can smell fear as well as any wolf. You tremble even now. These are not simple nightmares, my witch friend. Speak plainly. Nira's eyes filled with tears. She did not let fall. You will think me mad. Since I accepted the reign of this kingdom, nothing will surprise me that you say. Try me. Silence stretched. The wind outside moaned softly against the arched glass. Finally, Nira stood up, twisting her gown in her hands, and grabbed the bedpost. It's you. What did you say? Ella's brow furrowed and she walked over to where her friend stood. What did you say the dreams were about? They're about you, Your Majesty. Me? Nira nodded, her voice trembling. In my dreams, it's always you. What do you see? Don't make me tell you. I don't want to tell you. We have a thing in our lands, in our worlds, where we don't tell our dreams, because if we don't tell them, they don't come true. I order you to tell me what your dreams are of me. It's dark. Candles are everywhere. It's not here. It's not here. It feels like a cave to me. Cave. You're on an altar. You're chained down to the altar. There's so much blood. It's everywhere, and I can hear you screaming. Guttural screams ripping from your body. And my screams, they mix. I can't tell, and there are dark hands reaching for you and touching you, and I can't stop it. Ella's expression did not change, not outwardly, but the candlelight caught a flicker of something sharp in her eyes, something wary. An altar, a cave, screaming blood. What does that mean, Nira? I don't know. All I know is that every night it gets worse. The blood grows deeper, the screams closer. I wake drenched and freezing. Her hands gripped her own arms now. There's something coming, Ella. I feel it. I can't see what it is, but it's tied to you. The shadows are shifting. Just like what? I can't tell you. You will tell me now. The night that you beheaded Aiden. There was a shadow. A shadow standing somewhere far away in the darkness. All in black. I couldn't see the face. It was a woman. She was talking to me. In my head. And the things that she was saying. Ella was silent for a long moment. Her mind turned slow and deliberate behind her composed mask. At last, she reached out and placed her hand on Nira's cheek. A tender gesture, cold as frost. You've always been too sensitive to omens, Nira. The stars murmur and you tremble. The earth sighs and you wake screaming, "No! This was real. The dreams were real, Your Majesty." Nira swallowed hard. This isn't like before. Everything feels different until it passes, Ella said gently. We've survived war, blood, and betrayal, whatever comes. We will survive it too. Her voice was steady, but inside her thoughts flickered like candlelight. A dream of an altar. Blood. Screaming. It was not a witch's omen that Ella dismissed lightly. Not Nira's. Still, she smiled. Come. Sit. I'll have the servants bring you wine and me blood. Nira hesitated, then obeyed, sitting on the velvet chaise by the fire. Ella poured blood into her cup and wine into Nira's, the crimson liquids catching the light. And she handed one to Nira, her eyes softened, but only slightly. I do take what you say to heart, Nira. If you dream again, you must tell me. Promise me. I do. I promise. Ella leaned back, swirling her own blood in the cup. Good. She stood up and walked over to the window and pulled back the velvet drape. She looked out onto her realm, her kingdom, beneath the crimson moon, bathing the blood, bathing the snow. Because if this vision holds truth, I would rather know before the blood begins to fall. She turned around and looked at Nira. The room was silent except for the low crackle of the flame, the beating of Nira's heart, and Ella's mind beginning to race. Outside the chamber, the owl Mina perched on the window ledge, her silver feathers gleaming. She turned her head slowly, her eyes catching the faintest flicker of movement across the courtyard. A black raven circling high in the snowlight. Her turquoise eyes scanned, and she hooted softly in warning. Chapter 3. A fire beneath the snow. The chamber felt alive with silence, the kind that holds its breath between heartbeats. Outside, the snow kept falling, always falling, over Blackstone's courtyard, turning the world to silver shadow, bathed in blood. The sconces hissed against the cold, casting molten light over the stone floor. Ella stood by the window, her pale gold hair spilling like frost over the loose ribbons of her pale white gown. Ian came to her without a sound, the predatory grace of their kind in every step. When his hands found her waist, she startled, not in fear, but in the ache of being pulled back from her thoughts. His voice was low. Tell me what haunts you. He whispered, his voice rough velvet. I can't, she murmured. It will make it real. She remembered what Nira had said about dreams. Then let me steal it from you, he said. He turned Ella in his arms, the silk of her gown catching at his fingers. One by one he undid the stays until the fabric sighed from her shoulders and down to her waist. Her skin gleamed like moonlight, cool to the touch. Yet when his lips brushed the curve of her throat, warmth spread through her veins like spilled wine. The taste of her made him tremble. The taste of him made her forget to breathe. Ian, don't think, he murmured against her skin. Only feel. She let him draw her back toward the bed, the two of them moving with an unspoken rhythm older than language. He laid her down among the crimson sheets, their bodies a tangle of shadow and light. Clothes whispered to the floor. Every movement became slow and reverent, an uncoiling of the fear that she carried deep in the pit of her belly. He touched her as if she were a prayer, each kiss a vow of protection. Her mind slipped from the darkness that had gripped it as he explored her with his hands, his lips, his eyes, his body. The vision, the altar, the blood, it all faded under his mouth, under the slow, patient devotion that claimed her. When their fangs grazed each other's skin, it wasn't hunger, it was remembrance, a promise whispered to them that they had made a year ago. The world outside ceased to exist, only the pulse between them remained, ancient, endless, fierce. At last, when the fire dwindled to embers, she lay against his chest. The snow still fell beyond the glass, silent and eternal. Ian's hand traced slow circles along her back. You're doing it again, he murmured. Doing what? Thinking. Shutting yourself off from me. I just can't stop thinking about the dream. He ran his hands over the scars on her shoulders that were pale and silver now. There's no dream stronger than this. He began to kiss her heated skin again. Ella closed her eyes, the sound of his heartbeat steady beneath her ear. For now the fear was gone. Only the warmth of him remained, burning against the eternal cold of the Blackstone night. The fire had burned to a low, pulsing glow when Ella finally stirred in the early morning. She was still in Ian's arms, the crimson sheets tangled about their bodies, their skin pale and gleaming in the dim. His breath brushed against the crown of her head, steady, familiar, and grounding. For a while, she listened to that rhythm, wishing she could let it drown out everything else. But the memory of Nira's words coiled inside her like smoke that would not fade. Ian, she whispered. He made a quiet sound of acknowledgement, eyes half closed, fingertips tracing the delicate bones of her shoulder. I have to tell you something. That tone, the softness threaded with fear, made him instantly alert. He drew back just enough to look at her. What is it? She hesitated, gathering the courage to speak. It's Nira, she said finally. She told me she's been having dreams about me. His expression shifted. The easy warmth in his gaze hardened. I'm going to have a word with her. I'm tired of her filling your head with nonsense. It's not nonsense, Ian. She sees things. I'm so weary. She raised up in the bed. Ian draped her like a cloak with his body. She grabbed onto his forearms. Tell me. She says she saw me on an altar. Ella continued, voice breaking despite herself. She said there was blood everywhere, Ian. Mine. She said I was screaming, that I was chained to the altar. She said she was screaming too. Ian pulled her away from him and turned her to face him. The sheet falling away from him, the pale scars along her shoulders catching the firelight. Enough, he said sharply. She's poisoning your thoughts with her visions. I am not going to let anyone harm you. Ella turned, clutching the silk close to her chest. Ian, you didn't see her when she was telling me the dream. She was crying. She was terrified. She's a witch. Fear is her trade. I trust her, Ella whispered. I've trusted her since the night that she saved my life. She saved my life, Ian, and you should trust her too. She had visions that night, remember? Ian swung his legs from the bed and stood pacing toward the window, naked. Outside, the wind howled against the glass, snow spiraled like ash. Dreams are wind, Ella, he said darkly. They scatter and vanish. They do not decide our fate. But what if this one does? He turned back to her, sprinted across the floor to her, the fire painting fierce light in his dark silver eyes. And what if it doesn't? What if you live every night expecting death to reach for you? You are the queen of Blackstone, Ella. You command armies and shadows alike. Don't let superstition make you tremble. Her voice was a whisper. It isn't superstition, Ian. It felt like a warning. He crossed the room again in a heartbeat and went to stand at the window, and then came back to her, taking her face between his hands. His thumbs brushed the corners of her mouth, and when he spoke again, his voice trembled, not with anger, but with something rawer. Listen to me. If there is danger, it will come through me. First, nothing touches my queen. Nothing touches you without my blood answering for it. Don't say that, Ian. She saw the truth in his eyes then, the fear that he would never admit. The thought of losing her frightened him more than death itself. I can't bear the thought of you in pain, Ella, he murmured, forehead pressing against hers. Say that it was a dream, Ella. Say that it was only a dream. Say it. But she couldn't. Her silence was answer enough. Ian's breath came ragged. He closed his eyes, forcing calm. The night pressed close around him, heavy and cold, while the fire guttered low. Finally, he whispered, "Then we'll watch. And we'll be ready for whatever the darkness brings. We will triple your guard. You will not be alone 1 second of the night. We'll have soldiers posted outside our door. Outside, unseen by either of them, a single raven landed on the outer parapet of the Queen's Tower. The feathers blacker than the night itself, its red eyes glinting like coals. It watched the chamber window for a long moment before taking flight again, wings cutting through the snow as the Queen of Blackstone trembled in her husband's arms. And it went to its mistress' balcony. I hope you are enjoying Crimson Queen. Let's take a 10-minute intermission, and when I return, I will read the rest. I hope you're enjoying. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, everyone. I hope you are enjoying the Crimson Queen. We have about 4 minutes. Good, 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 good. Glad to hear it. Hello, Legendary Alpha Eclipse. Eclipse? How are you? Oh, thank you, Maria, aka Boo Boo. So glad you enjoy it. Hello, Cruella. Oh, good. And your favorite color, red? Hello, Wildfire. Hello, Lollipop. How are you? Hello, Sandra. Welcome back in. Hello, Joanne. Welcome in. Amber Robinson, Grandma, how are you? Hey, Turtle Woman. Hello, John. I think we have many shadows in here. 1 minute. Hello, Shauna. Oh, thank you, Scare Hunter. Hello, Buddha J. Thank you all tonight for your support. Thank you for being here. And thank you for embracing the Crimson Queen as much as I have. And it is time. Hopefully you've got your popcorn and your drinks and your chocolate and your cake and your candy bars. Okay, now I'm hungry. Thank you, Bryn. Ooh, I gotta drink that water to keep my voice moist. The night was absolute. No sound but the moan of the wind against the iron balconies of Blackstone Castle. Calitza Drathmore sat before her mirror, pale light from the brazier painting fire across her face. The raven's perch stood empty beside her, the iron stand still faintly swaying. She had been waiting for hours. Any word from the bird. The mirror reflected nothing but the dark emptiness of the room and the faint, restless pulse of her fury. Then, like a thread snapped in the stillness, the air shifted. Wings beat once, twice. A rush of wind and shadow filled the chamber. Nixaroth alighted on the edge of the mirror, feathers dripping melted snow, eyes burning with crimson light. His voice came not as sound, but as thought, slipping through the cracks of her mind. I have returned, mistress. Calitza smiled faintly, turning in her chair, her black silk gown whispering against the stone floor. And she purred. The raven's head tilted, his gaze unblinking. I went where you bade me. I watched. I listened. I saw the queen in her chamber with her consort, the king. Calitza's eyes sharpened like green knives. Tell me. They spoke of the witch's dreams. The words dropped from his beak like oil. The witch's dreams. Oh. Oh! The sniveling little witch. Go on. Dreams of blood? Of an altar? Of the queen's death? She fears it. He fears it. But the fear sits between them like a wound that will not close. Calitza leaned forward, hands clasped tightly in her lap. Oh, this is too good to be true, Nixroth. You mean to tell me that she's crying right now in her chamber? Do you hear that, my precious boy? She fears. Good. Fear makes cracks, and cracks makes thrones fall. Nixaros' feathers ruffled, scattering faint motes of ash. Shall I continue to watch? Yes, she said, her smile widening. You'll watch her every move, every whispered word. Do not be seen. And when the time comes, you'll bring me what I need. The raven let out a slow, rasping chuckle, something almost human. You feed on vengeance like wolves feed on blood? And you? Kalitsa's gaze was cold. What do you feed on, you creature of the night? The raven's eyes glow brighter. Despair? Yours is sweeter than most. Kalitsa's temper flared, but she hid it behind a laugh. Careful, bird. I could pluck your wings and feed you to the fire right now. You could try, he said, voice like thunder crackling low and distant, but the fire would spin me back. She rose, the candlelight sliding along her gown like spilled ink. Tell me, bird, what else do you see? The raven cocked its head, feathers shivering. The queen doubts her witch. The king doubts himself. There is a fracture forming in their bed, and the sin of it is glorious. Kalitsa moved closer until her reflection and the ravens merged in the mirror. Woman and monster, eyes gleaming red and gleamed together. Then the first part of the plan works, Nixroth. Let them doubt. Let them crumble from within. By the time my son is born, there will be nothing left to fight for. He stirs already, the raven whispered. I can smell his blood through you. Kalitsa froze. You can? It carries the scent of both night and crown. Her lips parted, her voice almost reverent. He is truly Aiden's heir. The raven's feathers bristled as though the name itself chilled him. Remember, the witch who gave him breath will demand her due. Remember her words, mistress. Should you fail her, both your souls are forfeit. Call! Kalitsa's smile faltered only for a heartbeat before returning sharper now. I do not fail, you stupid bird. I will show you all. Nixroth hopped from the mirror to her shoulder, the weight of him cold and real. His beak grazed her ear and nipped at it, drawing blood. You will, mistress. All mortals fail, even those who call themselves eternal. Get out of my sight. The candles guttered at once, plunging the room into shadow. The only light that remained came from his eyes, two red coals burning inches from her own. Kalitsa did not flinch. Go back to your watching, and keep your omens to yourself, bird. Or there will be two carrion that I'll destroy. The raven laughed again, that awful echoing sound, before dissolving into a scatter of black feathers that spiraled up the rafters and vanished into the night. When silence returned, Kalitsa's hand drifted unconsciously to her stomach. She could feel it, the faintest stirring beneath her palm, like the brush of a heartbeat not her own. She smiled, slow and terrible in the darkness. Only the moonlight made her eyes glitter. Soon, she whispered to the darkness and to her son. Soon the black stones will bleed for what they stole from me. And from far beyond the window, faint and distant, came the answering cry of the raven, cutting through the falling snow like a blade. The announcement. The Queen's drawing room shimmered in candlelight. Great timid tapestries hung from the walls, deep crimson and gold, while the air smelled faintly of roses, wax, and the cold iron that drifted in through the high-arched windows. Ella sat upon the carved onyx chair at the head of the room, her pale hair cascading like spun silver, her expression calm yet unreadable. Ian sat beside her, broad-shouldered and still as a statue. At his side stood Seraphina, ageless, watching every face with quiet scrutiny. Near the hearth waited Nira, silent and sharp-eyed. The door opened. The ladies of court swept inside, their gowns whispering like autumn leaves across marble. Among them came Kalitsa Drathmore, her beauty radiant but her expression cool, careful. She bowed low before the throne, the light catching on the silver threads of her gown. Ella's voice carried, soft but commanding. My ladies, I have called you here to confirm the unions that will strengthen the house of Blackstone. Lady Evangeline, your wedding to Lord Ulrich will take place 1 week from tonight. Evangeline nearly squealed, her smile breaking like sunlight. Kalitsa forced a polite smile. Lady Muriel, Ella continued, you are to be wed to Sir Aldrich of the Western Vale 2 nights hence. A murmur of approval moved through the chamber. Then Ella's gaze turned toward Kalitsa. And you, Lady Drathmore, your marriage to Lord Valor will take place tomorrow night. The word struck like a hammer. Kalitsa felt her nails dig into her palm, sharp enough to draw her own blood. Tomorrow night she would be chained to the man that she despised. An excellent match, Ian said evenly, though his gaze never left Kalitsa's face. There was something cold and suspicious in his eyes. Seraphina's gaze followed his, reading every flicker of emotion across Kalitsa's face. Nira stood in the corner, arms crossed, her dark eyes watchful. The air seemed to thicken. Kalitsa bowed, head lowered so they would not see the storm gathering behind her eyes. Your Majesty honors me, she said, her voice tight. Then it is settled, Ella said kindly. Congratulations, you ladies. The Blackstone Kingdom rejoices in your alliances. May your alliances be secure and your marriages long. Kalitsa straightened. The room swayed. A sudden stabbing pain lanced through her abdomen, so sharp she nearly gasped aloud. She pressed her hand to her stomach. The edges of her vision blurred crimson, blood pooling into her eyes. Heat flooded her veins, and she could feel her pulse hammering in her throat. One of the ladies noticed first. Lady Drathmore, Are you all right? She took one step forward and froze. Her eyes burned, the world turned red. She blinked and blood-colored tears streaked down her cheeks. The veins around her eyes darkened, visible even through her pale skin. Ella rose startled from her throne. What is this? What's wrong with you? Kalitsa's voice came ragged as blood poured out of her mouth. Nothing, Your Majesty. It's nothing. I have it bed. Her hands trembled violently. Seraphina stepped forward. Bring the blood wine. A servant hurried in with a silver decanter, pouring the thick, dark liquid into a goblet. Kalitsa tried to take it, but the blood was so thick, pouring out of her mouth and her eyes. The smell turned her stomach. The pain twisted tighter, radiating through her body until she nearly doubled over. The goblet slipped from her hand and shattered on the floor, the dark liquid spilling like ink. Evangeline's eyes widened. Lady Kalitsa, I just need to lie down. Kalitsa gasped. Please, I just need to lie down. Evangeline, the queen ordered. Take her to her chambers. You, girl, help her. Yes, Your Majesty. Evangeline rushed forward, wrapping an arm around Kalitsa's trembling shoulders and the maid on the other side. Together, the two girls guided her toward the door. Ian's eyes followed them the entire way. Seraphina's expression was unreadable, but she leaned toward Ella and whispered, What was that about, I wonder? Something dark moves in that one. I feel it. Ella nodded faintly. I do too. Although I don't know what. The corridor. Kalitsa's steps faltered as they reached the grand staircase. Each breath came shorter than the last. The veins at her temples pulsed. The firelight shimmered against the sweat beading her skin. The front of her gown was covered in blood. Her eyes were still pouring blood, but not at the rate as before. Lady Strathmore, Evangeline whispered, frightened. Do you think you need to see a healer? Your face is covered in blood. Quiet. Kalitsa hissed through clenched teeth. Just take me upstairs. They half carried her up the steps. At the landing, another wave of agony tore through her abdomen. Kalitsa cried out, clutching the railing so tightly the wood cracked under her grip. Evangeline turned pale. Please, Miss Lady Strathmore, what can we do for you? You seem to be in such pain. Shut up, you sniveling idiot. I'm going to go fetch Seraphina. No! No, don't you dare! She grabbed Evangeline by the front of her dress. Shut up. Kalitsa snarled, the sound more growl than speech. Her fangs lengthened in the flash of a white. The two girls recoiled, startled. The lamps along the hall flickered wildly as if in fear. They managed to reach her chamber. The door flew open with a sweep of her hand, and the candles inside flared of their own accord. The women helped her to the bed. Kalitsa collapsed onto the crimson sheets in her bloody gown, writhing, her hands clutched over her middle. The veins around her eyes darkened, glowing faintly with an unholy light. Evangeline hovered near, terrified to touch her. I don't know what to do. Should I call for help? Kalitsa only shook her head, gasping. The pain reached its peak, and then, just as suddenly as it did, it vanished. She lay still, trembling, her eyes clearing. Silence fell like snow. Evangeline hesitated. Are you better? Kalitza exhaled shakily. Yes. Lead me. Wait. You. Stay behind. Evangeline left the chamber, shutting the door behind her and the young girl, Marin. Alone, Kalitza pressed a hand to her abdomen. The pulse she felt there was not her own. Beneath her palm, faint but certain, something stirred the life of her son. Her lips curved into a trembling smile. She thought to herself as she pressed her stomach, "You're hungry, aren't you?" Outside her window, the raven croaked once, low, harsh, in triumph. The latch clicked shut. The last echo of Evangeline's hurried footsteps vanishing down the corridor, leaving only stillness and the faint hiss of the sconces. Kalitza lay unmoving, but watched the young girl move about the room, her senses on high alert. She smelled her. Her hair was fanned across the crimson coverlet, breath shallow. The chamber smelled of wax iron and the metallic tang that always followed pain. Her pulse thrummed in her ears like a drumbeat underwater. "Shall I dress you? Shall I change you out of this gown?" "Yes. Yes, you shall. Come here." And then came a sound, a dry scrape, a rustle of feathers at the window. Nixaros' black silhouette shifted against the moonlight. He watched her with eyes that glowed like embers unblinking. "Unlock the door and let my bird in." The raven's head tilted once he was in, a voice, not the raven's, but something deeper, murmured into Kalitza's mind. "You bleed from the eyes? Are you fine?" Kalitza spoke back to the bird through his mind. More wind. The flames along the walls shuddered, a cold wind coiled through the chamber, stirring the silken curtains, sweeping the scent of stone and damp earth into the air. From the darkness at the far corner of the room came a soft ripple as if the air itself bent. Another pain seized her stomach. "Ah! Are you all right, my lady? Should I go and get a physician for you?" "No. Come here. Help me up. Help me unbutton the back of my stays." The maid walked around the room and came to Kalitza. Kalitza sat up slowly. Her hands trembled as she touched her abdomen again. "I wonder what it could be. I'm worried for you, Lady Strathmore." "Shut up, girl." "Do you believe in helping your lady?" "Of course. Anything. Anything." "Then look into my eyes." Kalitza's eyes began to glow like green fire. "Undo your collar." "No. No." "Do as I ordered, girl." "Yes." 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 "Yes The compelling began to take over. Yes, I will do as you ask. The fangs protruded in Kalitsa's mouth until they were long, white, and sharp. Come closer. Kalitsa had told herself that she would only drink until the pain went away. And as she lowered her fangs into the girl's throat, she discovered that it was not going to be that way at all. As she began to suck the blood from the girl's veins, she heard the witch's voice come from the mirror. You've helped him. The air quickens within you, and when he's hungry, he will call. Pain is the midwife of power. He stirs because the bond between you and the throne is sealed in blood now. The Queen's command to wed the mortal lord forged it tighter. Your child wakes to claim what is his. Kalitsa had completely drained the girl and let her fall to the floor like a limp doll. She rose unsteadily, the train of her gown whispering across the stone floor. Why would he cause such agony? She said as she wiped blood from her lip. The mirror on the wall clouded over, its surface rippling like black water. Within it glimmered those two terrible green eyes. Because he is mine, as much as yours. Every beat of his heart is the rhythm of my power. Do not forget your bargain, daughter of vanity. You will guard him, hide him, nurture him, and when he stands, I shall stand beside him. Kalitsa swallowed, forcing her fear down with a shaky breath. What if they suspect that I am with child now? The Queen already watched me. The eyes narrowed. Then blind her, smile, bow, curtsy. Play the pet until you are ready to bear your fangs. The world will only see you as a dutiful bride, not a vessel for ruin. The raven hopped onto the foot of the bed, feathers pulled as if to punctuate the words. Kalitsa met its gaze. It felt as though the creature could see through her skin into the fluttering secret beneath. Morin's voice grew softer, almost tender. Feed him soon. That mere girl right there will not feel him for even 2 hours. He hungers through you. Starve yourself, and you starve him. Kalitsa shivered. I can't drink blood wine anymore. No, because your son claims pure blood. Take it fresh, the witch hissed. Take it warm. Do what queens before you did in the dark ages of our kind. But they will notice if people come up missing. You're a clever girl. Fresh blood only. The mirror darkened, the glow fading, but the scent of damp stone lingered. Nixroth croaked once and stretched his wings. Kalitsa looked toward the windows, her reflection trembling in the glass, eyes still rimmed faintly in red, face pale but resolute. Slowly she smiled. Very well. I will find fresh meat. And when he is born, he will feed on her throne. The raven's cry split the silence, low and guttural, echoing down the empty halls of Blackstone. Shadows in the drawing room. The chamber still smelled faintly of spilt blood wine. The shattered goblet had been swept away, yet a dark stain lingered on the rug before the throne, like a memory that refused to be scrubbed clean. Ella remained seated in her chair, one pale hand pressed to her lips, her expression thoughtful but troubled. The candlelight trembled over her skin, turning her hair to pale fire. Across from her, Ian stood near the window, shoulders rigid, arms crossed as he stared into the night beyond. The snow fell outside, fell in thin white threads, soundless, endless. Serafina stood between them, silent for a long time. She had been silent ever since Kalitza had been taken from the room, but her mind churned. It was the smell that haunted her. Not blood, not illness, but the sour, metallic stench of death had clung to Kalitza Drathmore like perfume. She had known it the moment the woman entered the room. It had coiled around her senses, something older than death itself, something wrong. Ella finally spoke, her voice quiet. Her eyes. Did you see her eyes? Ian turned from the window. How could we not? They were red as rubies with blood. I thought she was about to lose control and slaughter everyone in the room. Serafina's gaze flicked toward him. She would not dare. Ian arched a brow. Wouldn't she? For a moment, silence thickened again. The fire popped in the hearth, the only sound. Ella leaned back, pale fingers tapping the arm of her chair. She said she hadn't fled. But that doesn't explain the rest. I've gone without feeding longer than that and never had such a reaction. Ian's jaw tightened. That's because it was no simple hunger, my love. Serafina's lips parted as if to speak, but she hesitated. Her thoughts returned to the image of Kalitza descending from the sky hours before. Her gown torn and her hair wind tangled. She had smelled of grave dust and the distant rot of earth long disturbed. And there had been something else in that scent. The faintest pulse of something that she could not place. She had almost followed her then, almost confronted her in the corridor, but instincts, centuries of it, had told her to wait. She has been restless. Perhaps she's catching on to the fact that we know she's up to no good. Serafina said finally. I have seen her pacing the halls these past 2 days at the latest hours when the owls and the soldiers have gone still. Ian frowned. Restless. Serafina met his eyes. Reckless. She flies where she should not. She returns with the smell of death about her. It turns my stomach. Ella's gaze sharpened. You've seen this. You've seen her leave Blackstone property. Yes, I have. Where did she go? All I know is Mina followed her to a certain point and turned around. Tonight was not the first time. Why would you not say nothing before now, Mother? The older vampire's voice dropped, smooth but edged. Because I am not yet certain of what I saw. I think she went to the caves. Caves? Did you just say caves? Yes, I did, my daughter. She remembered that Nira had said that when she was laying upon the altar that it looked like a cave. Where are there caves here? Far beyond the kingdom, Ian said. Seraphina's gaze moved toward the fire. All I do know is that whatever she touched beyond these walls has touched her back. That what bled from her eyes was not hunger, but warning. Warning for her. Warning for us, Your Majesty. The flame snapped. A hush fell over the room. Ella rose and crossed slowly to the window beside Ian. The courtyard below glowed with lantern light. Somewhere far away, a raven cried, a harsh, cutting sound against the hush of snow. Watch her. No one leaves the castle grounds without my word. No one. Not even Calitza Drathmore. Even though she is marrying Lord Veyron tomorrow night, she will not leave these grounds. Ian looked down at her, nodding. She's hiding something, my love. We'll know soon enough. Behind them, Seraphina's eyes reflected the firelight like mirrors. She said nothing of what she had truly seen. Not of the dark wing that had followed Calitza back through the night sky, nor the faint shimmer of green that had clung to her gown. She would keep that secret for now. But in her heart, unease settled like a stone. For the first time in centuries, she feared that something older than vampires had crossed their borders and found a way inside. The hunger of the air. The night inside Blackstone Castle was absolute. Outside the tall arched windows, snow drifted soundlessly, a curtain of white falling over black stone and iron spires. Inside Calitza's chambers, the air was thick with the scent of smoke, blood, and candle wax. She lay sprawled across the bed, one arm flung over her eyes. Her body still trembled from the spasms that had seized her earlier. Even now, hours later, she could still feel that same pressure coiled deep inside her, a hot, throbbing pulse that was not pain anymore, but hunger. It wasn't ordinary hunger, it was ancient, the sort that claws through the ribs, that whispered with another heartbeat, not her own. Her hand drifted to her abdomen. She felt the faintest flutter again, like the wings of something small stirring in sleep. The memory of Morwen's voice slid through her mind. Feed soon. He hungers through you. Calitza's lips parted. She swallowed hard. I can't, she murmured to an empty room. Not yet. Nixrod perched on the carved hardboard above her, black feathers gleaming in the candlelight. The raven's head tilted, the ember eyes red and narrowing. You must? He rasped, voice dry as gravel. He stirs. He wants the warmth. He wants the taste. He wants the blood. Calitza sat up sharply. Enough! And where exactly am I supposed to get this fresh meat? Are you going to provide it to me, Morwen? The ache deepened. She stood, the silk of her gown whispering across her legs. The floor beneath her was cold stone. She crossed to the mirror. Her reflection looked foreign. Skin pale to transparency, eyes faintly red-rimmed, still from the bleeding earlier. She looked like hunger itself, carved into the shape of a woman. She pressed her palm flat to the mirror. I need food. I need food. The raven croaked softly. Then take what is yours, lady. And then she heard it. The hesitant sound of footsteps outside her chamber. A servant, perhaps. Sent to check on her. She could smell the youth in the blood, fear, curiosity, sweetness. Her fangs lengthened before she realized it. The door creaked open, a timid voice. "Milady?" "Yes." "I was asked to come and check on you." Kalitza turned. The torchlight danced across a young face of another maiden, catching the silver flare in her eyes. "And you came alone?" she whispered. The servant rose. "Yes, my lady." She smiled, a slow serpentine curve of her lips. "Good. Shut the door." In 2 heartbeats, she was across the room, faster than breath. The door slammed shut behind her. The candle flames guttered as if suffocating. There was a soft gasp, a cry cut short, the sound of silk tearing. The silence that followed was almost reverent. When Kalitza rose again, crimson stained the corner of her mouth. Her skin was flushed with vitality, her eyes bright, the cramping gone. She felt stronger than she had in weeks. Inside her belly, the faint flutter of light steadied. Nyx rose fluttered down to the arm of the chair beside her, tilting his head. "He's pleased?" he rasped. Kalitza wiped her lips with the back of her hand, smearing red against pale skin. "Now what do I do with it?" She looked toward the window where the snow still fell, endless and cold. Somewhere in the castle below, laughter drifted faintly from the great hall. Evangeline's foolish, innocent laughter. Kalitza's smile sharpened. "Let them laugh," she whispered. "Let them think I'm weak. By the time this child draws his first breath, every one of them will know to me." The raven's wings spread, catching the dim light. "There's a river beyond the woods?" The bird croaked once, a harsh echo swallowed by the dark, and together they stared at one another. "The queen has made an edict? An edict? And what is that? None of you are to leave the grounds of Blackstone Castle?" She said that, did she? Kalitza picked up the lifeless corpse with one finger, walked across the floor to the balcony door and flung them open. The night wind hit her face strong and cold as she flew over the trees, beyond the village to the great black forest beyond Blackstone. Down below she spied the river, dark, black, fathomless. Oops. She hovered in midair. This would be easier than she thought. No one had noticed 2 servants that had went missing yet. And to Kalitza's mind, they were nothing more than that. So no whispers should stir. And if they did, well, they ran off. They ran away. What did she care? The bells of Blackstone Castle rang with a slow, mournful rhythm that night. Their sound rolled through the endless dark sky, echoing across the frozen forest and the marble courtyards below. The bells did not celebrate. They warned. Inside, the great hall had been transformed. Dozens of black candles floated in midair. casting trembling halos across walls draped in blood-red silk. The scent of roses, dark, heavy, nearly cloying, mixed with smoke and the faint metallic tang of blood wine. Vampires of the court filled the chamber, nobles with skin like marble and eyes that burned faintly in the gloom. They whispered behind jeweled hands, curious and hungry for the spectacle to come. At the far end, beneath a vaulted ceiling carved with the ancient crest of the Blackstone realm, stood the Daae. There, Ella sat on her throne, Mina perched on her shoulder, her expression serene but unreadable. Ian beside her, carved, still as stone. Seraphina lingered a few steps behind, her gaze sharp and assessing. They were not sure what Kalitza would pull. The Queen's ladies in waiting stood in a silken line to the right. Among them, Evangeline clutched her bouquet so tightly that one of the black rose stems snapped in her hand. Her cheeks flushed beautifully. Then the doors opened. A hush fell, and Kalitza Drathmore entered. She moved like a specter gliding through a dream. Her gown a cascade of black lace and garnet, embroidered it shimmered like spilled wine in the candlelight. Her dark hair was woven with threads of silver and small obsidian stones. Around her neck gleamed a choker of onyx tied against the pale curve of her throat. Her emerald eyes were calm, too calm. Inside, she was a storm barely unleashed. Lord Vayrond waited at the altar, his hulking frame wrapped in black velvet, his face thick and ruddy from centuries of indulgence. His gold rings glittered on fat, swollen fingers, and when he smiled, his teeth gleamed too white against his blood-colored lips. As Kalitza approached, his gaze devoured her, from the top of her head, to her breast, to her waist, to her feet. She could feel his eyes crawling over her skin like 1,000 of the fiery dance. Behind her, Nixroth swooped soundlessly from the upper rafters, invisible to most, but not to her. It perched above the shadowed beams, watching with gleaming red eyes. Kalitza reached the Daae and curtsied low before her queen. Ella's cool gaze lingered a moment before she inclined her head. Rise, Lady Drathmore. Kalitza obeyed, every movement graceful, every word rehearsed. The officiant, an elder vampire, draped in ceremonial black, began the ancient vows. His voice was like parchment and stone, echoing through the vaulted chamber. By decree of Her Majesty, Queen Ella of the House of Blackstone, and by the laws written in blood and night, we bind Lady Kalitza Drathmore to Lord Vayrond of the Eastern Court. May this union strengthen the crown, and may loyalty flow eternal. Kalitza's stomach turned as her hand was raised to Lord Vayrond, and he slipped a massive red ruby onto her ring finger with a black band. Her mind flashed to Morwen's glowing eyes, the witch's rasping voice echoing through her skull. You must marry him. For the child to be born heir to Blackstone, his name must be sealed in blood before the court. She forced herself to lift her hand. Her skin trembled slightly as the ceremonial blade was brought forth, a thin dagger with a hilt of bone. Vayrond took it eagerly and pricked his thumb, red-black blood welling instantly. He pressed it to the chalice held between them. and looked at her bosom. With this, I bind myself to you, he said, his voice thick with possessive delight. Kalitsa shivered, hesitated for only a fraction of a second before doing the same. The blade's kiss burned against her skin, but her expression did not waver. She let her blood fall into the chalice. The officiant raised it high. Blood joins blood. Flesh joins will. Two become bound in the eyes of the rum. Now drink. He brought the chalice to Veyron first. The Lord drank deeply, his eyes glinting as he lowered the cup. And then he offered it to her with a terrible smile. Drink, my love. Kalitsa stared into the thick, dark liquid. In its surface, she saw herself not as a bride, but as a conqueror waiting her turn. She lifted it to her lips and drank. The hall erupted into restrained applause and murmured congratulations. Ella rose, her voice carrying easily through the hall. Let this night mark a new alliance with Blackstone and the House Veyron. May the union of Lord Veyron and Lady Kalitsa strengthen the kingdom and preserve its peace. Kalitsa bowed low once more, the perfect image of humility. But inside her something shifted, a faint stir within her womb, a whisper that wasn't her own. As the music began and the guests returned to their blood wine and revelry, Kalitsa turned to face her new husband. He reached for her hand, fat fingers brushing her knuckles, and raised it to his mouth. His lips were soggy and wet. You're mine now, he said, his voice a low growl of triumph. I can't wait to get you to my chamber. She smiled, a sharp, fragile thing. You'll have to enjoy the wait. We must dance before all of our guests. He laughed, not catching the venom in her tone, and led her out among the dancers. From above, Nyx Ross' red eyes glowed brighter. The raven's rasping voice brushed her mind like cold fingers. You've done well, my lady. He will never know what he carries into your bed. Kalitsa's lips curved into something almost tender as she leaned close to her new husband's ear. Dance with me, she whispered, and try not to die before dawn. The wedding night, a rite of unmaking. Blackstone's night pressed close to the windows. A slow fall of red snow drifting past the crimson sheen of the sconces. Inside the bridal chamber, every candle was lit. Tall black tapers and iron claws, so that the stone walls seemed to breathe in amber and shadow. Silk curtains stirred with each cold draught that slept beneath the door. The air smelled of rose oil, old vellum, and the iron tang of blood wine. Kalitsa dismissed her ladies with a flick of her fingers. Go. Do not come back till the morning. Yes, my lady. Their skirts whispered away, a flock scattered. Silence swelled. Beyond the adjoining antechamber, Lord Veyron's laughter scraped the stone, thick with blood wine and self-satisfaction. A sound that lives somewhere between a boast and a belch. She felt her skin crawl before he ever crossed the threshold. He did at last, filling the doorway like a barricade. Wife, he drawled, savoring the syllable as if it were meat. Blackstone has made you mine. Calypso did not flinch. She had the stillness of a drawn blade. Blackstone made a contract with you, my lord, she said, voice calm and cold. It made nothing yours. His smile showed too many teeth. He took up the room with his breath, his velvet, the cloying sweetness of wine. You will see, he murmured, and the candles guttered as if the air itself recoiled. Come here. His voice had changed. It was no longer the weak idiot that doted on her for weeks. Now there was possession and demand in his voice. Of course, my lord. Shall I disrobe for you now? Yes. I would like that very much. She endured what duty demanded. No tremor, no plea. And when the ritual was concluded, she lay, feeling like the most dirty woman ever. The pig, the disgusting wretch. She rose with the terrible grace of tides. His finger brushed her buttocks, and she almost vomited. She drew a dark circle robe around her like the night closing over a drowning ship. That was the last his eyes would ever see of her body. Every place his hands had touched, every place his lips had licked, felt wrong. She felt unclean. She felt disgusted to the nerves beneath her skin. He had been on her, close to her unborn son. She hated him. She crossed to the sideboard where decanters waited like obedient servants. He lay in the bed, fat and naked, illuminated by the dull candlelight. Well? Well, what, my lord? She said, as she slipped the vial of poison into her hand. Not too bad for a centuries-old vampire, is it? And just think, we can do this every night until you give me a son. Wine first, my lord. Her voice had softened to velvet again, but the threat of still remained. He sprawled across the bed then, chuckling, tugging at her robe. Take it off. I want to see you. No, my lord, there's a night chill in the air. Perhaps later, once you regain your strength. Shall we make a toast, my lord? Yes, Lady Veyron. What shall we toast to? Obedience, he said, and the word lingered like smoke. She looked at him. What do you mean by that? I mean when I tell you to disrobe, you do it. Or I might have to tell one of your little secrets. Kalitza unstoppered the decanter. Firelight glinted off the narrow glass vial concealed in her palm, clear as melted snow, cold as a promise spoken underground. She tapped a single drop into the ruby wine. It vanished without ripple or stain, as if the drink itself had devoured its doom. She poured. I said, remove your robe. Of course, my lord. She shrugged out of her robe, letting it fall to the ground in a pile of black silk. She turned and carried the goblet through the forest of candle flame. To union, she offered. To possession, they clinked their glasses together. He took the cup and drank deep, throat working greedily beneath fat rings of velvet and chain. He watched her over the rim with a conqueror's certainty, ogling her naked body. The mistake of a man and men who believe bulk is destiny. The room listened. At first, only the harsh, slow crackle, the faint of a hiss of snow against glass. Then a small, curious sound. Kalitza stretched out on the chase lounge, drinking her wine blood. The tiniest clink of crystal against tooth as his hand trembled. He lowered the cup. It slipped, and shattered on the stones, a red fan bursting across the floor. His fingers flexed and failed. A puzzled animal blink crossed his features. What did you do to me? His voice snagged and thinned. Kalitza leaned back against the chase. The candlelight carved her cheekbones into statuary and let the ritual begin. I have done, she said, what was always coming, my lord. She stood up, picked up her robe, pulled it on, and tied it at her waist. He staggered, trying to get out of the bed. He took a step, and then another, reaching for the bedpost, missing it, catching it on the second try. Sound soared in his throat. The color in his face shifted. First high, then drained, like a tide in reverse. He tried to snarl a threat at her. I will have you. What came out was a cough that had forgotten its own shape. She moved at last, not to aid, but to officiate. Each step was measured, ceremonial. A priestess crossing a nave. Listen to me. She took her foot and shoved it into his fat chest, knocking him over onto his back. She said, and her voice filled the room without even needing to rise. Hear me, Lord Vega. She straddled his body. While you can still hear me at all. His wide eyes found hers, wide, panicked, and already glassing over. I despised you. From the instant you opened your mouth in my great hall. Kalitza murmured. She leaned her body down to his, letting him smell her perfume. Her long dark hair grazed his chest. From the first laugh, coarse, grasping, certain the world owed you its throat. I despised you. The way you looked at me as if I were beauty, were a purse to be weighed in your palm. What do you think now, husband? He clutched at his chest. The floor creaked. The candles leaned forward as if to eavesdrop. I despised your breath, she went on, tone almost tender for how precise it was, heavy with wine and arrogance. I despise the heat of your hand on my body that was never yours. I despise the way your shadow tried to eat the room and leave me in the corners. I despised the sound of your boots, the clatter that declared you came to see me, the silence after you gone that felt stained with your presence. He slid down the post to his knees, his breath coming ragged. And most of all, she whispered, leaning just close enough for him to see how calm her green eyes were. I despised what you imagined. That my spine would bend to you, you bastard. That my crown of bone would soften for you. That I would be less than myself because you wrapped me in a ring and made a decree. He reached for her. She did not step back. She let his fingers fall short of her throat. The only reason you were permitted to touch me tonight, Kalitza said, each word a bead of a rosary of venom, was to give my unborn son a name. Lord Veyron's eyes widened until they were almost about to pop. Comprehension struck his face like cold water. Horror tried to climb after it and failed. Oh yes, she breathed. You have already served your purpose. I carry Aiden Blackstone's heir in my womb. He toppled sideways, catching the edge of the coverlet, dragging it askew. The tapestries watched with impressive lions. The iron sconces offered neither pity nor approval. Somewhere above, wood fainted, ticked in the burden of old beams. Kalitza rose from off of him then and crouched beside him. She did not touch him. She let the last inches of space between them be the final humiliation. And now, Lord Veyron, she said gently, you will serve me once more. His lips fumbled around a sound, a plea that could not form. Thank you, she said, and the gratitude was so exquisitely shaped it might have been love if not for its content. Thank you for your fortune, for your lands, for your castles, for your name, for my son's name, for your key to every locked door, for the paper crown that will make my son's iron one undisputed. A breath rattled, another tried to follow, and could not. From the canopy's shadow, Nixroth settled on the bedpost, black feathers swallowing the light. The raven's crimson eyes glowed like twin coals banked in ash. It tilted its head once as if counting heartbeats. 1, 2, 3. Calypso breathed. It is done. Veyron's body loosened by degrees, a knot untying itself in air. He lay as a toppled statue might lie, something once loud, now forever quiet. The fire sighed, the snow pressed harder at the glass, whitening the night with its persistence. Calypso rose, the robe's hem whispered across stone. She did not look at his body. She crossed to the mirror realmed in gilt, an heirloom of an older Blackstone, and regarded the woman within, composed, luminous, pulse steady as a metronome. The pearls at her throat gleamed like a chain and like a promise. Not with soot, not with breath, but as if a deep lake had risen behind the glass. Shadows thickened. The room's other reflections retreated until only those waters remained. Then 2 glows opened in the dark. Green, patient, ancient. A figure gathered itself from that abyss the way a storm gathers from heat. Morwenth, the witch of the deep caves, wore darkness like velvet. Her hair felt in heavy coils that moved as if inhabited by their own thoughts. No single outline contained her. Edges blurred, reform decided to be terrible. When she smiled, it was with too many years. Well done, the mirror said, though the lips in it scarcely moved. The voice breezed through the chamber the way underground rivers speak, cold and inevitable. You learned the rite. Calypso inclined her head a fraction. I performed it. You conducted it. Morwenth corrected, a ripple of approval in the ancient timber, a consecration through negation, debt to purchase a name, a throne bought with a draft. Nixroth ruffled his feathers, sending a single feather drifting. The corpse cools, it croaked. Shall I set the hour? No, not yet. Morwenth said, eyes never leaving. Your price is paid, your clause is satisfied. The green eyes deepened, a night sea fathoming itself. A clause, not the treaty though. The mirror's surface shivered as though something vast excelled. Feed him, daughter. Feed him often. He hungers through you. Keep your mask. Keep your prayer book of courtesies. Act like the widow. The queen must see you tame while you sharpen your teeth. She will suspect. Calypso answered. She suspects already. I know it. Then let her suspect. The witch purred. Suspicion is not proof, and proof is not power unless it is believed. You of all creatures understand performance. A soft laugh. More a change in pressure than a sound rolled through the glass. And remember, Morwen said, gentler now, a winter kindness in her voice. He is as much mine as yours. When he stands, I will stand beside him. Until then, be stone on the outside and river within. When do I get the throne? Until he comes to power, when do I get it? Watch your tone, Lady Veyron. The mirror brightened by a breath. The witch hung there another heartbeat, an eclipse that had chosen to pause, then receded, the glass clearing by slow degrees until it showed only the room again. Candles, stone, snow, the bed in disarray, the vampire dead on the floor, the woman who had made herself a widow. Outside, the world fell whiter. Inside, the last of the old life cooled at the foot of the bed. And at the mirror's edge, so faint that only a watchful mind would notice, 2 green motes lingered. The echo of a witch's satisfied gaze before even they went out. I hope you have enjoyed tonight's telling of the Crimson Queen. My stories burrow deep where they cannot flee. And in the darkest corridors of your nightmares, you belong to me.
would you like to say to Daddy for his birthday?